One of my most played games on the Wii is probably Rayman Raving Rabbids 2. Yeah, it's pretty strange to hear myself say that considering I own games like Mario Galaxy, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Punch-Out, which I find much better honestly, but this game is up there with one of the greats. Yeah, a party game based on the Rabbids I would put in high standings. Anyway, after like a decade, I've decided to come back and take a look at why I played it so much. I found out pretty quickly. It was because I wanted the costumes. In case you've never played this game, if you reach over 12,000 points in a minigame, you can unlock a costume for your Rabbids. Most of them are pretty goofy and dumb, but I like them. And I thought it would be fun to rank each minigame from worst to best while incorporating some extra rules. Obviously, how much enjoyment I get from each game, the creativity of each minigame, the presentation, is controlling them fun or good? It is a Wii game, so motion controls are going to be used quite often. And how easy or hard is it to reach 12,000 points? There are 46 minigames and 5 shooting gallery games. I won't be including the shooting gallery games because that's not in the main pool of the other games, and ranking them alongside these other games is kind of annoying to be honest, because most of them are like 5 minutes long. I might do them separately in a different video. Of course, this list is going to be heavily biased, so if I hate something you like, oh well. And these rankings are mostly from a single player perspective, so let's get started. Shopping Cart Downhill. As most party games go, practically all of them are designed with more than one person in mind. Even so, most of the minigames are still enjoyable without an extra person. This is not one of those games. The main goal is to reach the bottom first before the other two Rabbids. You hold the Wiimote upright and tilt it left and right to steer. You can bump into each other to stun or knock them into another obstacle. If you're playing with a friend, you can both steer in the same direction to turn even better. By yourself, it's really dull. You're pretty much clear of every obstacle if you just keep yourself in the center of the track. The only thing that could stop you is the cow that opens his big mouth to try and block you. The AI Rabbids aren't that hard to fight back, and reaching the 12k goal is super easy. It's a pretty simple minigame overall, it's not that exciting. Little Chemist. Aesthetically it looks nice. Gameplay-wise, it's really boring. The goal is to forcefully have the rabbit drink potions that correspond to the symbols below their feet. In order to find the right potion, you need to point and hold the A button while shaking the remote so the symbol can appear from the potion. When you find the right one, press the B button and feed it to the rabbit. The faster you go and the more potions you use, the more points you get. The problem I face is both speed and memory. Shaking the potions isn't exactly fast, and very rarely does the Wii motion not work. When it happens though, it really sucks. The potions stay the same after each cycle, so if you can remember where each one is, you're golden. My short-term memory isn't good, so I literally forget what each one was after I shake it. Especially after shaking a bunch in a row and not getting the right one. I start to forget what each potion has. I just gotta get lucky with RNG. Even if I do a decent job, I barely scrape 7,000 points. This is one minigame I never got the 12k points in. It's a real shame because I'm missing out on the French-made rabbit costume. Rolling Stone. The cutscene is the best part of this minigame because playing it really sucks. You need to run away from the boulder, and the only way to do that is by shaking both the Wiimote and the nunchuck up and down really fast to outrun it. Of course, with friends, it can be fun. By yourself, it's not good because getting that 12k points is a pain because you need to go fast, like super fast. Fatigue starts to set in quickly with this one. especially doing it multiple times and after playing a bunch of other minigames prior that also require heavy motion. That doesn't help much either. I don't hate this control style in this game, but I hate that it's the only option, and this minigame just goes on a bit longer than I want to. Snail Race. As comedic as a foot-long track featuring snails is, playing it isn't very fun. It plays almost identically to the Rolling Stone one, except that this one is way shorter. While being shorter, you still need to vigorously shake the remotes really fast in order to cross the finish line and win, even faster to reach that sweet 12k goal. It's honestly pretty hard to do unless you go full psycho mode and shake at like 100 miles per hour. That's 160 kilometers for all you non-Americans. I had a headache after both of these minigames. I was shaking too much. Baseball. Hey, another minigame where you have to spastically shake the controllers up and down really fast to get a good score. My favorite. This one ranks higher only because of the end. First off, you need to run around all 3 bases super fast and gain enough speed. Then it ends by you swinging the remote at just the right time to send the rabbit flying across the field. The further he goes, the more points you get. The 12k goal is much easier to get compared to the other two, and smacking the rabbit into the electric billboard is pretty funny. Other than that, it kinda hurts to play. Chess. Chess is the easiest and simplest minigame in the entire game, which is good because I have no idea how you play chess. All you do is bring both controls up to your head like you're about to shoot out a mind blast or something. You don't hold them there the entire time. Rather, you do that motion for like 3 seconds and put your arms down and then do it again. This will gain you more points and really make you feel like you're in deep concentration. Chess requires a ton of patience and concentration, so performing these motions will help improve your chess ways. Theoretically, at least. The 12k points is easy to grab on this one, and it's nice to have a minigame where you don't shake the controllers up and down like your life depended on it. Voodoo Rabbids. Another pretty basic minigame. This one involves shoveling dirt from your hole into someone else's hole. The player who digs the deepest wins. You take the cursor and hold A while dragging it from your hole into another hole to throw dirt into it. Getting the 12k is a bit tricky with this one, especially with the AI. You just gotta hope that you don't get unlucky and the other rabbits just dunk you with dirt. My strategy is just to go horizontally really fast and to avoid diagonal movement. And it worked. Just barely, though. I got 40 points over the high score, and after like a decade, or more, I beat it. I got this cool voodoo rabbit as a prize. Isn't he sick? Spitter cells. I really like the concept of this minigame, but the thing that really drags it down for me is controlling it. The goal is to hock loogies into the mugs of the rabbits below. You do this by swinging your spit back and forth with enough momentum to hit each mug. The ones closest to the edge of the screen give more points. Steering it is where it gets bad, because you need to tilt the Wiimote to swing the spit. For me at least, it doesn't respond super well, and the spit slowly droops down, making it harder to get the mugs on the edge. Looking back, it's probably just a me thing, but whatever. This is another minigame I've yet to hit the 12k points on. The highest I ever got was 8,000 all of those years ago. This might actually be the hardest minigame to beat in my opinion. I'd have to think of a really good strategy. What that strategy is? I don't know. I'll think of something. Eventually. Timber. Another minigame where you need to shake the remotes really fast. Thankfully, this one only requires the Wiimote, and it's even shorter than Snail Race. You move the remote up and down like you're using a wood saw. The goal is to saw the branch off first. Doing it quickly is even better because you get that sweet costume unlocked. Doing wider, faster swings with the Wiimote is the only reliable strategy to reach 12k. It's pretty easy to do and doesn't require that much effort. Just go ham with the remote and you're most likely going to get the points. Plumber Rabbids. So the same rules as Timber, except you hold the Wiimote upright. You know that minigame from Mario Party 8, Shake It Up? You see Mario's hand doing a very suggestive movement to the controller? Well, you do the same thing here, except this game prefers a wider range. The funniest part about this whole game is the high score screen. Well, at least for me it is. You know who has the highest score in my game? My dad. He was a natural. At unclogging toilets, that is. Yeah, it's nothing else dirty. Get your mind out of the gutter. Photo Booth. Another pretty easy minigame. In this one you need to put your rabbit in frame before the camera goes off. The more in frame you are, the more points you get. You do this for 3 rounds. You lower the seat by pressing the A button and spin the Wiimote vertically to go up. You always start in the same position every time, so if you just lightly tap the A button, you'll fall into position each time. It's pretty easy to reach the 12k goal with little effort. Trash Race. You guys ever done sack racing before? Last time I did it, I was in elementary school, which I last stepped in like 2009 or something. Anyways, trash racing is like sack racing, except it's a trash can and you're using Wii motion controls to bounce. If you time your hops right, you can get a little propulsion that will extend your horizontal movement and lessen the vertical height. My timing sucks, but I was able to get the 12k without a huge issue. As long as you get like 3 to 4 decent hops in, you should be fine. It's a decent minigame overall, and the cutscene is definitely the highlight here. But this is one minigame where, if you play with friends, it's a lot better, because there's no AI. Fart Wars. Another minigame I like the idea of, but it's really easy to beat against the AI. All you need to do is fly around and avoid crashing into rocks and bumping into other players. Bumping into things will cause you to lose points, but you will not have this issue. Controls are pretty responsive, and bumping into other Rabbids doesn't push you that far, so it doesn't have an overall effect on the game. Real players, it's a different story. I was able to get a perfect 16k score with this game. Past me thought it was easy too because I got 16k years ago as well. You know, the more I stare at this minigame, I question why my farts are blue. I know it's to distinguish each player. I get it. But what weird concoction happened inside the rabbit's body to cause blue farts? We'll never know. Bike race. So this plays pretty much the same as the shopping cart minigame, except this has more stuff and the cutscene is better. If you play with friends, one person steers the bike left and right with the Wiimote sideways, and the other person pedals by doing circular motions with the Wiimote and nunchuck. It's the only game to have the pedal motion, by the way. The person steering can also throw bottles at the opponent to slow them down and stun them. It's way more engaging and fun because of how hectic it can be. It's also much faster than the shopping cart one. Getting the 12K in this one is a bit harder, only because you need to worry about dodging more things. At least it's a lot more fun and not as brain dead as the shopping cart one. Spider Rabbid. In this game, you need to pick up the spider power-up and keep it for as long as you can to gain the most points. The longer you have the power-up, the more points you will gain over time. The other rabbits below are able to shoot rockets that will cause you to lose your web-slinging abilities. Honestly, keeping the ability to reach that goal can be pretty tough to do because dodging and trying to hit other rabbits with the rocket is pretty tough. A way I found to keep the other rabbits from hitting you is to bunch them all in a big mass and leave them to one side. Just before they reach you, quickly swing over to the other side. You might not get so lucky the first time, but after a few attempts, you start to figure out how these guys work. It's fun. I enjoyed it. As for the 12K goal, I actually don't think you get anything. I think just playing the minigame you unlock the Spider Rabbid costume, so easy. American football. Similar to Spider Rabbid, American football wants you to hold onto the football for as long as you can before time runs out. You do this by tackling into other players to try and steal the ball away from them. Once you have the ball, try to avoid contact with other rabbits because you can no longer tackle and you move way slower. The AI is pretty annoying in this one, especially once they get the ball because they have that weird, strange AI pathing. It's very odd. It's just like weird diagonal movements. It's weird. It's like they're not even human. You also don't want to miss a tackle because doing so causes you to slide for a few seconds and you're stuck until you recover. The strategy I came up with was to grab the ball and make really large circular movements to keep the ball. It had a good 90% chance of working, and getting that 12K wasn't super tough. Fun game overall, and I'm so glad it's not like real football. I don't even like football. Dizzy Race. You know what would have made this even tougher? If the controls were reversed. In Dizzy Race, you must reach the top of the hill before anyone else. You tilt left and right to move. Bumping into other players will knock them far away, slowing them down, and they'll go even slower if they hit an obstacle. Clearing a path for yourself is your goal for hitting that 12K. Tilting left and right can cause your rabbit to move slower, so looking at the movement of the pigs and the sheep on the track is your main focus. One bad bump could mess up your score and you'll lose out on the prize. You do automatically move from side to side, so it's also a balancing act in a way. Playing with friends can make this way more fun. By yourself it's enjoyable, but not as fun as it could be. Rodeo. Rodeo is fun, but the game is very picky on how you're supposed to move the Wiimote. During the game, you're given 3 different Wiimote commands: an upright flick to bounce the rabbit up, a thrusting motion to move the rabbit back and forth, and a circular swing to have them swing around the room and break stuff. This is also another minigame I've yet to reach the 12K on. That's because the circular motion is very precise. You need to copy that weird flat circular motion with the remote exactly. Most of the time it ends up doing one of the other movements instead. If it wasn't for this strange movement, I would have ranked it higher because it can be a fun minigame. That circular motion, man, really bringing me down. Yummy butterflies. Catch as many butterflies as you can, except you don't catch them in your net, you catch them in your mouth. Haha, it's very funny, I know. The net is actually used to beat the other rabbits and have them spit up butterflies they already ate. There are 3 butterflies: the blue ones, which give the least amount of points but are the most common, the yellow ones, which give more points, and the rare green ones, which can give over 1,000 points. The more butterflies you eat, the better, because the 4 most recent ones you eat get spat back up if you get hit and you lose those points. Also, holding down the A button to catch the butterflies slows you down. I always like these minigames where you need to catch or collect things that vary in point differences. Reminds me of the many instances that it was used in Banjo-Tooie. It's better with friends, of course, but still pretty fun, especially just whacking others with the net. TNT. Another simple to understand minigame. You hold the Wiimote horizontally and swing down to detonate the TNT. The closer you are to 0 before the timer goes off, the more points you get. There are 3 rounds and the timer always starts at 5 seconds each time. It's easy to reach the 12K, and as long as your reaction time is good, you shouldn't have an issue. A fun game to take a break from the wicked fast motion from the other games. Hot cake. Hot cake is the reverse of American football. This one you want to avoid holding onto the cake because you lose points the longer you have the cake. You do run much faster with the cake, so think of it like that shitty cloud item from Mario Kart Wii. You do have a little tackle when you're not holding the cake. Its main use is to stun others because it doesn't send you very far and not at all great for dodging. The AI is annoying to dodge because they immediately turn to you after they get the cake, and it's a little tricky to avoid them. Thankfully, it's not hard to throw the cake back to someone else. The 12K isn't too bad for this one, but you'll be cutting it close in most cases. Snake Charmer. The first, I guess, rhythm game. It's more like a matching the buttons that flash on the screen, and there isn't a whole lot of rhythm to it. You hold the Wiimote like a flute and press either A, 1, or 2 when the buttons light up on screen. As simple as it is, it's oddly relaxing to play. Well, for me at least, I'm not sure about you guys. It's easy to fumble if you're going fast, but for this game, you don't need to go super fast. If you fumble like 3 times, you might not reach 12K, but it's hard to do that. It's a fun little game. Laundry. As a kid, I could never beat this one. Playing it again as a totally matured adult, I can see why I messed up, but it's for such a dumb reason. In this game, you scrub dirty clothes until they're clean. You lift them up out of the water if you think they're clean enough to earn points. Scrubbing them for too long can destroy the clothes. When I was younger, I just kept pulling up the clothes at random and hoped they were clean. Adult me realizes that if you just stare at the bubbles near your rabbit, you can determine if they're clean or not. As soon as the bubbles turn white, they're good to go. I just never noticed that as a kid. I'm not very attentive. Even knowing that, if you mess up a few times, either pulling the clothes out too fast or washing them for too long, you can lose easily. That didn't happen to me during this recording, and I was able to unlock a new costume that I will probably never use, but at least I have it. Ice on Ice. The first minigame to introduce my favorite rabbit, the big fat one. I just see him as like a mobster or something. Every time he shows up, it makes the minigame worth playing, even if it sucks. This game involves running around the ice and collecting tubs of ice cream. You then take the tubs to the fat rabbit to feed him. While running around, you gotta deal with ice physics and avoid falling into the cracks in the ice. Other rabbits can tackle you, causing you to fall. While holding the ice cream, you can't tackle. So how is getting the 12K? It's not super difficult, but it all depends on how often you get blocked and where the rabbit and the ice cream stand spawns. It controls pretty well, so it's fun to play through multiple times, even if you suck at it. Spicy chicken. In this game, you eat peppers and have to cook chicken by burping up the flames. You eat peppers by swinging the Wiimote and discard peppers with the nunchuck. Why throw away the peppers, you might ask? There are 3 different peppers you can get at random. Green ones barely fill the bar, the yellow ones fill it almost halfway, and the red ones almost fill the bar to max. You want to get that bar as close as you can to the top without going over. If you overload that bar, you'll end up burning the chicken and you get no points out of it. RNG can really screw you up in this one because sometimes you'll just get peppers you don't want, sometimes getting 3 of the exact same one in a row. That's really annoying. There's also a weird glitch where sometimes eating a pepper won't give you the exact amount it's supposed to. It's usually with the red peppers giving you half instead of the full amount. While a little RNG based, it's pretty enjoyable. Papa's Got, the first of 6 rhythm games based around an actual song, except these songs are dubbed over with the rabbit voices. Some people might find it annoying, but I personally kind of like it. It's better than the Chipmunks or Nightcore. That shit sucks. Out of all the songs they used, Papa's Got by James Brown is my least favorite. It's a good song, but it can't compare to Smoke on the Water or Satisfaction. At the start, you can choose between 4 instruments. Each instrument ranges in difficulty, usually how many notes show up and how hard it is to rack up a decent combo. You swing the Wiimote and nunchuck down to hit a note. Occasionally, you'll need to spin the controller or do that dumb running movement like in Snail Race. All of the rhythm games are practically identical, so the way I rank them depended on all 4 instruments and how fun they were to play. Papa's Got sadly has the least engaging ones. Not to say that they were bad, just compared to the others, it's lacking. The best ones are the guitar and drums because of how involved they are with hitting notes. Singing is fine, and the trumpet you barely hit notes. As for the 12K, just find the instrument you find easiest to play, and go for that. Anesthetics. Why do I like this one so much? I honestly have no idea why smacking a rabbit with a sausage link gives me so much joy. The objective of this minigame is to put the rabbit to sleep. The last person to do that wins. The points are determined on how hard you hit the rabbit. A softer hit nets less points but a smaller chance to put him to sleep. A harder hit gains more points but puts the rabbit to sleep much quicker. It's back and forth between each player to see who hits too hard or not hard enough. The 12k is pretty easy to achieve on this one, but if you do end up messing up, all of your points disappear. Gotta get some smaller hits in mixed with the heavy hits. It's great training for any nurse dealing with a feisty patient. Swimsuit Edition. Some of you might be disappointed because this is in fact not a bikini contest featuring rabbids. Instead, it's a swimming contest where you need to spastically shake the controller a certain way to win. Now, I know I said before I don't enjoy games where shaking the controllers up and down was the way to play, but I like the variety in the shakes. Now, it's weird saying that now that I read it out loud. It sounds odd. This minigame, you need to pay more attention and follow each pattern correctly. One of the motions is what I like to call milking the cow. I mean, what else would you call it? The 12k is hard to get if you don't play perfectly. This one you're going to go against other rabbids, and at least one of them is capable of beating you. Fun Wiimote shaking game that isn't totally brain dead. And not painful. The Office. This one is really stupid, but damn, I think it's really fun. In this game, you need to do as little work as possible because working is dumb and boring. All you need to do is shake the Wiimote and do whatever. Dancing on your chair, dancing on your desk, humping your chair, it's endless fun. But you need to be mindful of your boss, played by the glorious Fat Rabbid. He'll pop up in 5 different spots, and if he catches you, you lose points. You get a large enough window to stop shaking before he enters the room, but certain spots are quicker than others, like the trash can and the outside window. There's a couple of other minigames similar to this one. This one is just my least favorite out of the few. It's stupid fun, and I can relate to it on so many levels. OK Corral, a classic standoff between two fierce cowboys. In this game, you wait to draw your gun, or in this case your Wiimote, to shoot the other rabbit in the face with a plunger. Unlike other games similar to this one, you do get a sizable chance to shoot the other rabbit. You won't just lose immediately if you're too slow. The slower you are though, the less points you get, and the other rabbit will shoot you and you will lose out on those points. There are 3 rounds to this, and if you lose one round, you might as well restart because getting that 12k is impossible at that point. I always like these quick draw games. The only problem is that you kinda have to guess where the cursor has to be. Playing this again, I remembered an old Germa video where he kinda sums up my thoughts on this game.
So hard. Cause like the Wiimote, like when you bring the Wiimote up, it's like, how am I ever supposed to do this? With my like shaky ass hands.
Yeah, it's pretty jank, but I had fun regardless. Teenager in Love. Another rhythm game, this time featuring the song Teenager in Love by Dion and the Belmonts. I actually really like the original version of this song a lot, so that's one reason why I ranked it higher than Papa's Got. Where this starts to fall for me is the difficulty. It's probably the easiest song to play no matter what instrument you use. Again, not to say that's bad, it's just a little too easy for my standards. The only instrument that would be difficult to play are the drums, only because you're constantly on beat with this track. The other instruments you hit a note every few seconds or so. This is the only song to have the megaphone as an instrument. It seemed kind of lame at first because you hit 2 notes every 5 seconds, but then the solo happens and it's great. I can't hate it anymore. I really like the sound of the megaphone solo. I don't know why, I just do. Overall, still a fun minigame, but not as good as the other ones. Rabbid School. Another minigame where you do random crap while no one is looking and score points. This time is disrupting the classroom by throwing paper balls at the teacher's back. The teacher will eventually get fed up and turn around, and if he sees you throwing something, he'll chuck an eraser at your face and you'll lose points. So pretty much identical to the Office minigame, except now we have computer players to go against, and this is where something new is implemented. If the teacher turns around and catches nobody, you're able to tattle on one of the other Rabbids, and whoever gets snitched on the most gets hit with an eraser. I know I haven't been talking about the presentation of each minigame, I'm realizing that now, but I love all the random junk that gets thrown at the teacher like erasers, half a stapler, and scissors, and the tic-tac-toe game on his back is also pretty funny. As for the 12K, not too hard, but the computer players might screw you over if they tattle on you too much. It's a great time. Burgeritos! You gotta roll your R's when you say this because it sounds cooler. As a kid, I hated playing Burgeritos and Burgerini. I could never keep the food stacked up and be quick about it to not run out of time. In this game, you exit out of either the left or right side and have to deliver either a veggie burger or a shrimp burger to one of the fat Rabbids. You tilt the Wiimote to move your Rabbid and press the A button to rebalance yourself to not fall over and drop everything. You'll probably fall off the side a lot because the more food you deliver, the higher the stacks get and becomes much harder to balance. I end up dropping food constantly because I try to go quick. You need to be fast in order to reach that 12K. Taking a little tiny bridge in the center to cross is what you should prioritize if you want to reach that goal. Sadly, I never got it because I'm bad, in before the Zoomer skill issue comments. Playing it as an adult, I can appreciate this game way more. It's fun, even though I still suck at it. Burgerini. So it's like Burgerito, except you only have to deal with one customer and it's way easier to reach him. I pretty much explained how the game works in the last entry, so what else is different? Not much, the path seems pretty straightforward at first until you notice the dumb little gap on the left side. I've fallen into it so many times that I lost out on the 12K constantly. Yet again, I don't have a 12K score for this one. Going fast while trying to keep as many toppings on the burger as possible is tough. I prefer this one over Burgeritos only because it's easier to play. It's already hard enough to try and balance the food on the plate as it is. The China House. Another game that involves balancing stuff. Unlike the burger games though, this one is much easier to play and get the hang of. In this game you need to spin plates on a pole so they don't fall over and shatter on the floor. If you go too slow they fall down, and if you go too fast they will fly off the pole. The more plates that get thrown onto the pole, the harder it becomes to keep them balanced. Depending on how fast you spin the Wiimote is how fast the pole will spin. Duh. It's a pretty fun minigame because you need to keep changing on how fast you spin your arm or else you just drop everything. The 12K depends on how well you're able to keep spinning the plates. The more plates you have stacked, the more points you get. Dropping them wastes a bunch of time, so if you fumble a couple of times in a row, then you're not getting those points. Celebration. Kool and the Gang's Celebration is a classic and a staple in most media targeted towards children. So glad we got this instead of annoying garbage like Who Let the Dogs Out. I hate that shit. This song is where the rhythm games get a bit tougher to play. The notes you need to hit are becoming a lot tougher to get perfect, at least compared to the other two I spoke about. I will say the difficulty ranking for the instruments is a bit misleading. They have the drums listed as the easiest one, but you pretty much have to be on beat the entire song, and it does throw some curveballs to screw with you. The horns are probably the easiest to play because you don't hit that many notes. The singing is pretty fun to play too, but I never liked playing it on this song specifically because if you mess up a note, the singing gets all distorted for a bit. It happens for every song, but for this song specifically, it just doesn't sound right. We got a new instrument here, the piano. The piano, you'll be hitting the same 8-note pattern for a majority of the song, so you might find that a bit tedious, but I like pulling it off. Really great game. All of the rhythm games are great despite my minor grievances with them. Smoke on the Water. Another rhythm game so soon? Why yes, Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple is a great song. What elevates this one above the other rhythm games is because you get to play that iconic riff. Well, with Wiimote waggles, but you know, it's still awesome to play. Also, I found every instrument to be both fun to play and challenging for my jaded ass. Even singing, because if you heard the original song, each verse is pretty spread out and not that long. Since the Rabbids version is shortened, the dead air between them is not as noticeable. I would get a perfect score in all of these, but my nunchuck isn't what it used to be. As famously shown in my Ninja Breadman review, which you should totally watch after this video, I gotta strap a rubber band on my controller so it doesn't mess up. Still messes up if I shake too hard and I lose my string of combos, which is annoying. That doesn't ruin my fun in the slightest though. Burp. I've referenced Mario Part 8's Shake It Up before, but this one is almost identical to that one, except this one is way better. The objective of this game is to burp as loud as you can. You start off by violently shaking the can, then you quickly rip the tab off by pressing A, and then you tilt the Wiimote like you're drinking the soda. Chug it down as quick as you can, because the power of the burp is determined by that. After all of that, you get a cutscene showing how much of the surrounding area you destroyed with your breath. This game is great. It's simple, but it's so fun and highly replayable. Now the 12K seems pretty easy to get on this one, but for some reason I can't reach the 12K. No matter how hard I try, I can only get up to 10K. Even at my quickest, I couldn't beat the 12K score, and I've tried for a long time back then, and even now, I just can't do it for some reason. Glowbox, you can keep your 12K score. At least, for now. Usual Rabbids. This game involves you looking at various snippets of a rabbid committing a crime. You get some funky angles of the perpetrator, and at the end you need to guess who he was from the line of 5 other Rabbids. Picking the wrong one gains no points. I'm not sure, but I think if you pick one close to the actual rabbid you might get a few points, but I'm probably wrong on that one. There are 4 rounds, and each one has its own cutscene of a rabbid stealing something. Each one of them is great and they're always fun to watch, even if it's the same exact one every time you play. But the rabbid stealing the frame of the painting rather than the actual painting is so dumb, it's funny. You pretty much have to get a perfect score on each round or else you won't get the 12K. It's not hard to screw up, but if you're not paying attention, you could mess up and lose out on those points, and whatever costume you were trying to earn. Bumper cars. Pretty self-explanatory. It's bumper cars. You tilt the Wiimote to steer and bump into the other Rabbids off the building to earn points. You do gain points by just knocking into other Rabbids, and you get even more if you knock them off. Reminds me a lot of bumper balls from Mario Party, except you can respawn, and it's all about who gets the higher score. The 12K on this game has the same issue I have with Ice on Ice, is that if you get bumped just a bit too much, you probably won't get the 12K. Regardless, it's still a great minigame, and pretty hectic with friends. Funky Town. The only minigame that wasn't accessible in the tour mode, which is the single player. To unlock Funky Town, you had to play each minigame at least once in single player. Funky Town by Lips Inc. is a great tune. Maybe not as good as Celebration or Smoke on the Water, but still a fun song. But even though I don't like the song as much as those, the gameplay makes up for it, boasting probably the toughest instruments to play correctly. The guitar is my favorite and the one I always choose. The other instruments are fun to play too and provide a decent challenge as well. The bass though, probably the hardest instrument to play correctly in every one of these rhythm games. It's just a constant flurry of notes with the occasional double stacked notes to throw you off, and with my jank-ass nunchuck, it was hard to hit each note. But I can't be too mad because this song is just so funky. Speaking of which, I saw a store one time called Funky Town. I never went in it, but how many people do you think ask if they play Funky Town on the radio in that shop? Those people probably got kicked out immediately. Dial R for Rabbid. This one I really loved playing. Dial R for Rabbid is an accurate portrayal of dumb idiots in the movie theater who constantly talk on the phone really loud while others are trying to watch. In a real-life setting, why would you do this anyway? While the movie is playing, lift up the Wiimote to your ear to talk. The longer you talk, the more points you can get. Make sure you put your phone down before the fat rabbit flicks back on the lights and stops the movie. If he catches you, a giant statue or something else falls on your head. You don't lose points, but you do get stunned for a few seconds, making it so you can't gain more points. While the lights are on, you can mash the A button to send text messages to the other Rabbids and have their phones ring. You gotta be fast because the computer players are fast too, and in most cases I always failed the text message game, but damn, I enjoyed how dumb this whole situation is. Imagine in real life the movie kept stopping every 10 seconds because 4 assholes just kept talking, even after getting heavy shit dropped on their head. You can never truly stop annoying people. It's impossible. Triple R, Extreme Beach Volleyball. Don't show your kids this. It might be too intense for their little brain to handle. Extreme Beach Volleyball is volleyball with a watermelon. The goal is to be the first side to reach 15 points. No time limit or anything. You hit the melon by swinging the Wiimote, and you can jump by pressing the A button. Swinging in the air allows you to perform a spike, and if you hit it just right, you can slam the melon down into the opposing rabbit's head. It doesn't affect the game at all, but it's funny. The melon will move faster if the round goes on longer than expected. It could turn into Lethal League if your reaction time is good enough. Well, maybe not that intense, but you know what I mean. Another game I always enjoyed playing because I was a master at spiking the ball down onto the other Rabbids, and the sound it made was so satisfying. For the 12K, I think it's determined on how well you do comparatively to your opponent. If you have a big lead against them, you should be fine. A close game might net you less points, but I'm not sure on how the points are calculated on this one. Singing in the Rain. Here's something new, a rhythmic memory game. The rabbit will perform a dance and it's your job to copy it exactly. You can only mess up 3 times before you slip and float down the stream. It starts off pretty easy, but as it goes on, more commands start to be added in, and it becomes even faster. They even try to mess you up by hiding some of the inputs with question marks. Just pay attention to how the rabbit dances because that determines what motion you should do. It can be pretty frantic, especially with friends. By yourself, it's also really fun. I always try to get to a point where it just becomes too fast to input everything in time before the clock runs down. The 12K is fun to get on this one, and it's not too tricky. Unless you have the memory of an elephant in reverse, then you might have a problem. Are we there yet? To the people who think rabbits are annoying little shits, this is the perfect game for you. I myself don't find them too obnoxious, it's not like the minions at least, but they can trigger some nerves if they get overused. Like the minions. In this game you point the Wiimote at a rabbit who's making a big old ruckus in the back and slap them with your nunchuck. The quicker you are at responding to the rowdy rabbit, the more points you get. If he's making noise for too long, you'll get less points. And if you slap a rabbit who isn't making noise, you'll lose points and they'll start to cry. I kinda feel bad, but then again, I remembered they aren't real, so I start to not feel bad pretty quickly. It's all about being quick to react with this game, and after a long time, I finally reached 12K and got a big baby costume. Yeah, the 12K was rough with this one a long time ago because of my accidental slapping of the clown rabbits, and that sometimes my nunchuck swings wouldn't register. Even when my nunchuck was fully functional, it sometimes wouldn't register. But come on. It's fun, like every other minigame. Satisfaction. Here we are, the final minigame, and of course it's a rhythm game because, let's be real, they're the best ones in the entire game. Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones is my favorite song out of the songs used in this game. I mean, you really can't go wrong with this song. That meaty guitar and the bass mixing together is pure gold. No matter what instrument I picked for this one, they were all fun to play and gave me a good challenge. None of them weren't too hard, and none of them were too stupidly easy. Each one was used just enough that it didn't feel like you were just staring at the screen, waiting for one note to pass by. I honestly have no complaints about this minigame. It's just really good, and the best minigame in the entire game. In my opinion, at least. It's a shame I don't have much else to say about it, only because I spoke about this exact minigame 5 other times, so I'm pretty sure most of you get the gist by now. So that concludes my ranking of each minigame from Rayman Raving Rabbids 2. Coming back to this game after over a decade, I thought it was going to be not as good as I remembered, and that nostalgia would be a bolster the entire time. In some ways it is, but honestly this game is still enjoyable even nowadays for first-time players. Regardless of the title, I didn't find any of the minigames to be awful. Some were mediocre, but not terrible. I like all of the Rabbids games on the Wii, and they still hold up today. I even remember when I got the TV Party game and Go Home, and it came with shirts. Those were sick. I think I still have them somewhere packed away. They don't fit me anymore, but it was cool to get something like that from just going to the store and buying them, and it wasn't some stupid pre-order thing. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.